Welcome to the Glorious Pro Wrestling Podcast, where two nice boys talk about pro wrestling. I'm Andy. With me is Danny, like always, and today we have a special guest. Appearances in DOA, Prestige, POW, SOS Pro, making his return, the hotshot Spencer Scott. How you doing, man?
I am doing fantastic, man. It feels good to be back. It feels good to be back in the wrestling and talking about wrestling, being around. It's great. I'm very grateful right now.
Did we miss any credits, by the way, on that?
I've wrestled for a few other places, but like you can't
give him a shout. You want to give him a shout real fast?
Off the top of my head, New up in Canada.
Okay.
WrestleCore, Dusk, Peak, a few others, but we try to get everywhere.
Of course, absolutely. You're back. How does it feel? Give us your initial thoughts. How are you feeling?
It's great. It's really weird, to be honest. Like I feel like I've been out for so long now. Like I got really it sucks 'cause I got really comfortable while I was gone, which
yeah.
like,
You got in a different routine.
I got a different routine now. Like my life completely changed. Like, for like 6-7 months, I had like a solid routine of like waking up, going to physical therapy, hobbling through work. Like it was the last year has been like really, really difficult. But now we're back, and I feel like a lot of weight has been like lifted off my shoulders, and like I feel like I can enjoy everything again.
Real quick, just for some of our listeners who don't know, fill us in really quick. How long have you actually been gone? What happened? And bring them up to speed.
So my last match that I had was April 28th of last year for Reactivate up in Washington. In that match, I'd hurt my knee before. I didn't realize how bad it was. I hurt my knee the first initial time at SOS in March.
That same year, 2024?
In 2024, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Early 2020. And I think that was the match I might have torn my ACL, because when I went to my surgeon, he had said that it looked like my ACL was torn a lot longer than my meniscus was. And so I think that's when it initially happened. It happened again at training, and then the last time was in April. So I've been out, I think it's been, what's it now? February? So it's been like 10 months since I've really been out.
Sure, yeah.
And I had surgery in June. So
Whoa.
since then, I've been less like around for the most part. Because before I got surgery, I was still kind of around, but after I got surgery, I took a lot of time off.
We still caught you ringside a couple of times. I think we caught you at the Hot Sauce Fest and a couple DOAs. You were still kind of.
Yeah, I tried to be around. Like that was the thing. Like I spent the first like 2 months after my surgery just at home in bed. Like I couldn't do anything.
Sure.
Like the first month, like I couldn't even like get up like to go to the bathroom. Like it hurt so bad. And once I could start kind of moving around and getting out, I tried to be like around wrestling as much as I could. And like I think it was a good thing for me because it kept me like engaged.
Absolutely.
But it definitely like each show got like harder and harder to be at, just like watching from the sideline.
I was just going to ask, like, what is that like still showing up and being around it? Like, yes, it's really good at one point. Did you learn anything during that time where you're like not as physical? Maybe you knew more than you thought you learned? Like, talk about that a little bit.
It was really interesting because like I got to sit back and really watch as like a viewer and as an audience member of what was working, what people liked, what people didn't like, just the overall vibe of a lot of shows. And it really like it helped me come up with a lot of like ideas as a performer. And it just like gave me like, because as like when you're in it, you kind of get tunnel vision of like you're worried about what you're doing and like how your perception is. But when you can kind of look at the bigger picture, which is what it really is, you kind of see all the personalities and like everyone on the show like brings a unique vibe to the show. So I learned a lot about like just how the shows like look from a fan perspective, and I think that's going to help me a lot going forward.
How did that differ from what you see as a performer? Can you talk about that?
You know, like, because I a lot of the times when I'm at shows, I don't get to watch a lot of the shows.
Totally.
So
Absolutely.
I don't get to see.
You're like in your zone.
Yeah, I'm like in the zone, and I don't really get to sit and think about like what I'm actually seeing.
Totally.
So it just helped me like understand a little more like where our scene's at and like where the fans are at right now and what they want to see.
And what do you think that is?
It's a lot of things. It's different for everybody. Wrestling has a lot of flavors,
Of
and
course, yeah.
yeah, like everyone's flavor is very different. And I think we bring an interesting flavor that I think not. I'm not gonna say it's been missing, but
It's okay to say it's fine to don't sell yourself short. You're an expensive
try
spice.
to stay
It's okay
humble.
to
Try to
sell you.
stay humble.
It's okay.
We try to be a very exciting team, and we try to really put on a show. And I think just I don't know, man. The Flamin Aces are an intangible part of a show now that I think a lot of fans really connect with.
I agree.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
agree. I agree wholeheartedly with that. So we've talked a little bit about your comeback. Let's go back a little bit, if you don't
Mhm.
mind.
Absolutely.
We usually like to start these just by kind of tapping into your memory when the first time pro wrestling ever came across your life. Not the first time you did a match, not the first time you tried backyarding. Just what is your earliest memory of professional wrestling?
So I was a WWE kid like my whole life. Like I think I was maybe like 5 or 6 years old when I first got introduced to wrestling, and it was
Perfect.
through playing video games with my dad.
Really?
I think we used to play like SmackDown, Shut Your Mouth, and there's another one too. It was one of those others. Here Comes the Pain, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So we're
like,
looking at a PS2?
yeah, PS2 definitely.
Yeah, PS2 for sure.
And the original Xbox, we had the Raw game. It was like WWE Raw.
Okay.
That was one of them. So that got me interested in wrestling first, and then we had some DVDs. I think the first DVD that I know remembering is No Mercy 2003, which is
Ooh,
Okay.
is one of my like favorite pay per views
Scott
ever.
Steiner?
I think was he on? It was a
I can't
SmackDown.
remember.
It was
Okay.
so it was Undertaker and Brock Lesnar in a Hell in a Cell,
Mm.
and it was one of my favorite matches ever. It was a tag match with Rey Mysterio and Edge versus Angle and Benoit.
Shit, dude.
Such a good
That's
match.
psycho, dude.
Yeah, but that was
Yeah.
that was my first show that I remember watching like religiously, like on DVD, and like then I would go to like the video store and like they had other wrestling there, and like it was that's just kind of where it evolved.
What do you it started with the video games. Was there any particular wrestler that stood out to you?
Yes, when I was a kid, it was the Undertaker was my guy.
Dude,
Like
yeah, how could it not be?
I did, like the entrance, like the just everything about the Undertaker. I was just like infatuated with. I don't know what it was. It was just it was the mystique. It was the everything.
Are
Like
we
the Undertaker.
talking American Badass Undertaker at that point? Or like
I did like American Badass Undertaker, but it was mostly like post American Badass
so
Undertaker.
when he went back to being
Yeah,
like
like
the
Mania 20 when he came back. Like from
yeah.
there on,
I
like
mean, God, and they went all out for that shit too.
they did. I remember, I remember WrestleMania 21. The Undertaker did this entrance where he was like floating down the ring. Like he wasn't walking, he was standing still, but he was floating down the
He
ramp, and
fogged it out, yeah.
it was like I had no idea that used to it scared me, but I couldn't stop watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely one of the most intriguing things. And it happens so organically, I feel like, but it's a tough thing to do now, is like that supernatural style of style, right?
Right, right,
It's
definitely.
like never really been replicated, but like you can see people sometimes trying
Yeah, it's
here
def-
and there, but
it's
like
definitely been tried, but like
It's so
he was like
different
he
now.
was kind of like the innovator. Like it's hard to top the greatest when you're or top the first when it's the greatest and it's been.
yeah, it's we have yet to see really. And we brought it up too earlier before we started recording, like you see kind of Malachi Black,
Yes,
House of
yeah,
Black, and
yeah,
stuff like that.
him like Bray Wyatt. Those are guys that definitely,
Yep, yep.
Mhm.
And luckily those went their own ways more or less to like
definitely.
mix. Do you still watch? Do you watch, by the way?
I
Like
do,
do you
yeah.
keep up?
Like I don't watch like weekly. Like I don't watch through the whole show. I just like I don't know. I don't have time and I don't have
Totally.
the attention span sometimes to watch through a whole show. But
Totally.
like I'm
Yeah.
constantly watching wrestling. Like before I started wrestling, I really only knew WWE. But after I started getting into wrestling, I started like watching a lot of the Ring of Honor and Dragon Gate and a lot of Japan, like all Japan, and I try to watch as much different wrestling as I can.
Yeah, it used to be really hard
Yeah,
to see
definitely.
anything but WWE.
Yeah,
Like,
I never grew up in the tape trading era. I only
yeah,
hear, but
Yeah, same. It wasn't until like honestly, for me, it was like Cody leaving, going to New Japan, where I was
mm,
like, then I'm gonna watch New Japan, all of his indie stuff. I was like, whoa, there's a whole other world of.
there's a
yeah,
whole
There's
other
not.
world out
There's not
there.
just Bubble.
yeah.
I
So,
mean,
like what?
I knew of like TNA and all of
Yeah,
that, but
definitely.
it was just so
I
different.
I knew there was wrestling out there. I didn't know how to like access it or who
Yeah,
anyone was.
yeah.
Even
Same.
with the
That
internet
I
too.
remember seeing
Where do
like
you look?
X Division stuff, and I was just like, oh, this is crazy. But it's like,
And
where do I
I
watch TNA? I can't find it anywhere.
Exactly. Like, and I didn't realize this. I wish I had found out about Ring of Honor like many, like when I was a kid. Because they used to run a lot in Lowell, Mass. And
Yeah.
I lived right by Lowell, Mass. So
Oh, damn.
I wish I could have gone to those shows, but I just
Hey.
didn't know about it.
Damn. Yeah. Hindsight.
Yeah.
So you see wrestling, you start watching it, you're a big fan of WWE. Where does the action come in? When was it finally time for it to
So
be hotshot?
So it's like this is a dream that I've always had. One that
Really?
I kind of, well, it was a dream I always had in the back of my mind. Like when someone would ask you what you want to do when you're older, that's what I always knew I wanted to do. But I would maybe like not say it all the time. But I knew. I just didn't know that it was like a possibility that there was like any way to
Yeah,
even
you had no idea that Ring
get
of
into
Honor
it.
was down the road.
I'm
Like,
saying, bro, like they were there the whole time. But
fucking hell.
so I didn't get the idea to really go for it until like right before COVID. So I moved to
Oh well.
Oregon in 2019, and I was in a relationship. Like it was everything was cool. I just had no direction in life. Like I had dropped out of college. Like I didn't know what I was doing with my life, and I knew I wanted like a passion, and because I had always had little things, but never anything that really stuck. And
What are the
then
little things?
I used to play a lot of basketball. I was very heavy into basketball.
Okay.
Skateboarding. I've skated my whole life. I love skateboarding,
Footwork,
snowboarding, and stuff
athletics,
like
great.
that.
Yeah.
I just like being active and like doing things, and just being active. But where was I going with that? So yeah, in so I originally inquired to an old school called West Coast Wrestling Connection in Salem. But when I was hitting them up, they had closed because of COVID and they never reopened.
Oh damn.
So
But
you were hitting up people like mid 2019,
Yep, yeah. That's when I initially
like
got like the
right
itch
when the
to start trying.
lockdown hit.
Right when the lockdown happened, dude, it
Fuck.
sucked. It was bad, and it's really funny. And I tell him this all the time. But when I was doing my initial research, I stumbled into Jaden, and I thought about like sending him a message and be like, "Hey, man, like I really want to like try wrestling. I just don't know like what to
Yeah,
do."
I'm new in town. Like, what do I
Yeah,
do?
I
Like,
never ended up sending him that message, but like like now we're like he's one of my best friends in the world, like through wrestling, and like I tell him that all the time. It's just really funny, like how things have happened.
yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy
absolutely.
how it
Yeah.
works out.
But yeah, so that didn't work out. That school closed, and then a few years passed, and I kind of let go of it a little bit because I didn't know what the world was kind of weird. Um,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
and then in 2022, I got an email from that guy saying that Ricky Gibson was opening Oregon Pro Wrestling School.
Okay.
And I didn't join initially. The school opened in June, and I didn't join till about September because I was just kind of like unsure. Like, is this something I really want to do? Like,
It's a commitment.
it's a commitment. It hurts. Like, like this is
Costs
if
money, you
and if
know, like,
I know like if I'm gonna get into this, like this is gonna take over my life. Yeah. And I'm so glad that I did because my life has completely changed paths from what I think it was supposed to be. Like, so yeah, once I joined the school and that was kind of history. From then
it's
we
kind of
just
history.
kind of went on. Here we
What
are.
was the initial like training session like for you? I mean, was like after the first time, were you like, yes, this is what I want to do, or did it take a little bit to be like, okay, yeah?
I definitely knew after the first training session that I was gonna stick with it. I didn't know how far I'd go, but I was
It's
like,
like that.
I like either I'm gonna do this or it's like it's not gonna work out. But I'm gonna try. I don't remember a whole lot of the first session. I know it was good. Like I really enjoyed it, so I really wanted to come back. I remember one of the coaches at the time. He saw me like doing a roll, and he was like, "Okay, like how long have you been training? Like for real?" I was like, "I
Yeah.
swear, like I've never
The
done this.
roles.
I was like, I've never done this before, but like that was something that came naturally to me because I was always active. I used to do like parkour with my friends as a kid.
I would
So
think like
like,
skateboarding with that kind of footwork, and
yeah,
also just I mean, skateboarding is just like taking involuntary bumps until you do the trick
yeah, pretty
on
much, yeah.
concrete.
So I got
Yeah.
used. I'm used to like falling and like
Yeah,
catching myself and landing and like
just good body coordination, right?
definitely. I think like in hindsight, I'm really like glad I got into those things as a kid because I think it really gave me like an athletic like
I
head
would,
start.
yeah, I would guess.
Um, yeah, man, but it's crazy.
You
Um,
know, you mentioned one of your favorite matches was a tag team match.
mhm.
When you pictured yourself, sort of, did you ever think like, man, if I just got the right tag partner, I would love to do tag team wrestling? Were you just like, I'm just going to go with the flow? Like,
It's
what
interesting. Like
what was that like?
because me and Zay both like did not plan on doing tag team wrestling, and I really didn't even like fall in love with tag team wrestling as much as I have now until I started doing tag team wrestling because
Sure.
like I understand it now. Like it's way like it's its own type of match. Like
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
I personally love tag team wrestling.
there's a whole like there's so many more layers to it than just a regular match. But to
So
answer
many
your
more
question,
bodies as
exactly.
well, like so much more like
The
interaction.
psychology. Yeah.
Lot more things you can do and things.
Yeah. 100%.
Um, but so no, I didn't initially necessarily
Okay.
plan
Yeah.
on being in a tag team, but the way that it worked out for me and Zay being a tag team, like I think it was the best thing that could have happened. Because I don't, like you see the two of us, like Zay is, Zay. He's got the personality. He's very playboy, and that's
He
why I
is
love
very
it.
playboy.
And something I struggled on early on was like kind of finding my identity and like finding my playboy,
Sure.
uh,
Yeah.
and it was nice to have like once we started teaming together, it was nice to like have someone that kind of is in the same position as I am. We can kind of like bounce off each other and ultimately like grow together.
We've heard his side. Go ahead and tell us about how that came together.
So if I remember correctly, I have really bad memory. Um,
That's fair. Makes for a
it
better story.
it
Whatever.
it was Prestige. That was the first time we wrestled together as a tag team against Midnight Heat. They threw us together and we got our ass kicked. And then after the match, we were kind of like, let's just see what happens. Let's try this out. And the next time we wrestled as a team, I think was at POW. I think it was at POW. I think it was against Derek Shaw and Dr. Cleaver, if I
Well,
remember correctly.
also thrown
Uh,
together, or were you guys at that point kind of like we're gonna do this a little bit?
I we had debuted separately at POW in their rumbles.
Yeah,
Uh,
he had
Mhm.
debuted and then he broke his fucking arm.
yes, yeah, dude. I
Right.
was there. I was there for that. It was crazy. Like I remember him coming back and just holding his arm, and I was like, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "No, I don't think so."
Yeah, super
and
not okay. So you
yeah,
guys were training together at that point and like
yep,
had a rapport.
yeah. Like we were. Let's see. I think that was January. So we had known each other at that point for like 4 or 5 months.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh, and like we would see each other every week. So like we got tight pretty quickly, and we
I would
had
imagine. Yeah.
like similar interests and like similar like sense of humor. So it was really easy for us to become friends.
So they were like, "Hey, tonight you two are tagging against the Midnight Heat." You guys look at each other. They're like, "Okay, I guess."
Pretty much like we had our gear ready. Like it was just like we were just waiting on waiting on the opportunity, and it came. And I think without that match, our story. I think that match adds a lot to like our story of coming together as a team because
I
like
mean,
on
it's
Prestige, like the
yeah,
Yeah, it's
biggest
huge.
place you can do it at least in Portland, like
yes.
that's huge.
Maybe the biggest tag team in Portland as well. Where were we at that year? Midnight Heat.
They were definitely one of them, if I
They
can, like
kind
it
of
was.
are now.
They still are for sure.
They
They
still
definitely
are now.
sure are. It was like C4 also. Like I think
C4
they
is
were they were
another
definitely.
yes, huge,
Just trying to think of other teams.
hugely
I
over in
remember. I think
Portland as
State of
well.
Emergency when they were a team was on that show, and yeah, I can't remember who was teaming then, but a lot of
So
them are still teaming today.
they threw you guys together. Chemistry was good. Didn't take the W. Tried it again down the line.
And I
Was
think
it the Flaming Aces immediately?
no. So we like worked like the name. You mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, yeah. So we workshopped for like a few weeks of like trying to figure out like what to name ourselves. And I've always really enjoyed like poker. Like I love playing poker.
Do
And
you really?
I do, yeah. And like I used to play it a lot in high school and like just with my friends and like
Do you have a good
I
poker face?
I
Are you
think
good?
so. I do okay. I do pretty good. I've
That's what a poker. All
won a
right.
game or two.
Are you hustling the boys in the back playing poker?
I haven't thought to do that yet. They might see through my poker face though.
Oh,
If
right.
anyone's gonna see through it, it would be wrestlers.
Okay. But anyway, so you're into poker, you're thinking about that. So
Yeah,
what
and
else you
like I'm
got?
just trying to think of like just names, just things to like. I wanted something catchy, like something a crowd can chant, like something
Yeah.
brandable, like you can put on T-shirts. And I don't know. I think I was looking at like a bag of like Flamin' Hot Cheetos or something, and like I don't know. I saw the Flamin', and I was like, that like you could do a lot with that. And then the Aces is kind of like at the time, me and Zay were kind of like the aces of the school, if you will. Like
Mhm.
we were one of the first ones to like debut, and we were the first ones to start like really get
Yeah, that journey
opportunities.
is very quick. You started training in September 22.
Yep, and
That first match would have been
January 23, or well, the Rumble.
the Rumble would have been.
I think the Prestige one was March, maybe. So it was like
But that's yeah, it's
six, seven
within the
months.
realm of like a year, less than a year.
Less
Yeah,
than a year.
definitely less than a year.
So yeah, you're one of the ones that took to it very quickly from a new
Yeah,
school.
yeah, and so we just put Flamin' Aces together. We were both a little unsure about it, but like still over the years we've been kind of like unsure, but it's taken on a life of its own now, so we can't like
Where
we're
does that uncertainty come from?
I don't know, just always wanting to be better, just always trying to improve like what you're putting out there. Sometimes I've gotten comments that, like, people don't necessarily understand, and that I can maybe understand why,
Okay.
but at the end of the day we're just two guys
Two
come out
flaming aces.
ball of fire, and we're two aces. You got two aces in your hand, you always got the advantage.
Absolutely.
And so
I
that's
mean, you guys have like a great name, and I feel like people just gravitate towards you as a tag team. It's just
definitely
like
that.
you guys
Yeah.
just have it there. Kind of wanted to just a little bit go back to now your return.
Mhm.
How did it feel to come back and just have the crowd essentially, welcome you with
It's
the open arms and being like, yeah, come, welcome back, man.
it, it was so like cathartic for me, because the time that I was out, like it was a really like dark time for me, like a very
Man.
like I like outside of being injured and not being able to wrestle, like I just had like a lot of life things going on at the time. It was a very like it was like a period of transition for me, and coming back, like I knew they would remember me. I knew they would know who I was, but I didn't know how much they would care, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Hmm.
Because that, like, sometimes in wrestling, you can kind of get in your own head about things, and
You were
um,
just talking about it, yeah.
like you never know what people think of you. Um, and like just coming back and like feeling that like love, and like feeling that like they are really like with us. Like it was all the motivation I needed to like really lock in. Like I really try, like thinking about it, I would get like emotional, like but like leading up to it, like I would always get emotional thinking about it, and then in the moment I'm just kind of like there. So I can't, like, I'm just absorbing. I'm not really
Yeah, you're in your
thinking about
zone.
anything other than being in that moment. It was great, dude. Like I couldn't have asked for anything better.
That match back against Aces High.
Yes, solid.
You were kind of still around when Caleb was teaming with Zay,
Hmm.
and then that eventual fallout. What does that bring to how you approach that match?
I mean, it's
And there's a
like
lot to
obviously.
say there. I get it. So take some
Yeah.
time.
Like it's gotten very personal. Like I don't know if you guys saw any of Power Pro Wrestling, but I mentioned that Caleb, so the day after I got injured, I didn't have anyone to bring me to the hospital. I think I asked Zay, I think he had work, he was busy. I get it. But I didn't have anybody. And I texted Caleb, and he was nice enough to drive like 40 minutes to come pick me up, bring me to the hospital. He stayed with me for
Okay.
like few hours, like like really like I really
He came through.
something that like that like I really like appreciate like
Absolutely.
I had seen Caleb like wrestling in the area, and like I know we've talked about like him wanting more opportunities, and like I know he is a great wrestler, so I wanted to like help him get some more opportunities that like I
Totally.
couldn't take advantage of anymore.
He
That
did
we
you a
still
solid.
yeah, and
You're trying to give it back.
he fit in like perfectly. Like I think him and Zay like did really great as a team. I really enjoyed watching them team, but now like
A lot's happened since then.
a lot's happened, and he's got two guys with him now.
Saw
Um,
that.
and like we just have to go into this. In my mind, I just want to go at him, just like beat the shit out of him, really. But um, I know Caleb's smart, and I know he's a thinker, and he thinks about the steps ahead. So we have to be a little strategic when we go about this. But like you guys saw what happened at the end of the match, like
Yes.
Caleb, Caleb low blowed me. They brought out their third. I don't know if you guys know him. His name's Sobavaro. He
I
he's
called him Banana Boat a lot
that's
because his gear was orange and blue like
At
a
the hot
banana.
yes,
sauce expert.
that's
Yes, I antagonized him quite a bit at the hot sauce.
yes. But like I know Sobavaro very well. I know Brandon Royce very well, and I've seen them come from being beginners at our school on day one to where they are now. And you know, as much as I'm happy for them, I'm more than happy to humble them,
Sure.
if you will.
Yeah.
Like they might think they're hot shit right now, but Ace has always got another
Taking
card
a
up their
piece
sleeve.
of
You
your
know what I'm
name
saying?
too. I mean,
I know, man. Like Ace is hot. Like it's clever. It's clever. I'll give
It's
him
an
that.
Iron Maiden song.
It,
It
I don't know. High is the only thing that they have to be to think that this is gonna think that that's gonna matter. This by the end of this, we'll see if they're still calling themselves Aces High.
no shade on the reffing during that match. Anything you want to say to referee Brad Lee while you have the floor here?
Listen, Brad, you're my friend, man.
Listen, Brad.
Listen, man, you're my friend, but you fucked up, man. It happens. Yeah, it's
Hey, it
over
happens
now.
a
I can't
lot.
do anything about it. But you fucked up.
All right.
damn.
But
Called out.
we got a lot built up for Caleb and those boys.
And
Nice.
then also, I'm sure there's other ambitions. You're no stranger to holding gold. Let's talk about some of those titles that you've
Sure.
had.
So yeah.
Walk me through that.
So I believe the first titles we won was the DOA Tag Team Championships, and we never, it sucks because we never got to have like a championship entrance together because the next show Zay couldn't make it to the show. He got caught in a snowstorm,
Ugh.
and so I had to defend the titles on my own. Brian Zane gave me no choice, or I had to forfeit the titles. So I tried my best. The Hammer Brothers beat me. So we only got to be champions for a month, and that's something that really bothers us. We never got to have our championship entrance and really just be the tag team champions in full. So that's something that we're really itching to get back to. And then the other one, I won the Pacific Northwest Championship for Relentless,
There it is.
and that was a very interesting time in my career. I really enjoyed working at Relentless, even though the fans there did not enjoy me being there.
Really?
But really, oh yeah, dude, I don't know if you ever seen it. They did not like me very much.
Were you working heel up there, or what's
They
going
hated
on?
my
Well,
guts, bro.
start from the beginning. Okay, so like, first off, you're probably racking up wins. How did it come about that you were going to be the Pacific Northwest? How you got that number one contender?
So we had been on a win, like we hadn't lost a match. Sorry, we lost one match at Relentless leading up to that point, and we had been kind of really making our way up the ladder there. And it came about that I believe Warhorse was the champion at the time,
That's what I
and
remember.
he dropped the title for some reasons. I don't really know why, but it led to a six-way match between, and we were all against each other. It was me, Zay, and Jaden, and then it was Amira, Rook Kelly, and the Goon. And we may have used the numbers advantage in that match, and your boy might have secured a
No,
W.
no shame.
Maybe I'm not, but yeah, so I became the Pacific Northwest champion then. I got to wrestle against Kita and defend my title. That was a big challenge for me. And then I got put in the 6-man ladder match at Monumental, and that is where I would say unfairly lost it. No, I never got pinned. That's all I'll say.
Sure.
But that time was a very interesting time for me. It was like I felt like that at Relentless is where I feel like I've done some of my best work, which is like interesting because like I feel like a lot of my best work has been Oregon based, like Portland based, where we're loved.
Duat. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's interesting to feel like some of my best work was where I was the most hated, which is very, very interesting. But
You
I
want to
had,
unpack that a little bit more?
Yeah, it was like you didn't expect it, right? So like, how did you like
I
adapt
wouldn't
to
say
it?
I didn't expect it.
Okay.
We were kind of assholes at Relentless. I'm not gonna lie. Like
Okay.
that 6 hour drive can do something to you mentally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We definitely brought out a different side of us at Relentless, and just in Washington in general, because we've 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 done that at like SOS and like other places. And it's
It
just
worked.
it works, man. It's really interesting, and it's weird. Like I sometimes enjoy being booed more than I enjoy being cheered.
Dude, I get that.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like it's a different kind of
It fits.
adrenaline rush.
What about the pivots between tagging and singles now? What
Right
was that
now,
shift
or
like? Well, when you were basically,
when I
you
was yeah.
guys were in the 6-man, you get the
Well,
belt.
it was easy because we were on the same page. We knew what time it was. You know, like no
Okay.
matter if me, Zay, or Jaden won that match, like the Super Aces were the Pacific Northwest champion.
Got
Like
it.
that's
Mhm.
how it was gonna be. So
Okay.
we, like it was no problem. Yeah, I don't know, man.
So
I'd like to get back up there if I can.
yeah, that's I
Cause some more
mean,
missions.
6 hour drive is that's
You
crazy.
know, you know,
For some gold, not bad.
for some gold, I'll do it.
Yeah. I mean the next one, right? DOA, you gotta get those titles back. Is there
That's
any
right.
like tag teams that you kind of want to step in the ring with, like that you haven't, or kind of now that you're back, let's
Hmm.
redo it? Got Hammer Bros. I mean,
Yeah, we
is
definitely need to get our we. I don't forget Jack hitting me in the head with a hammer the last time we saw them. I don't. I don't forget that. Um, I would definitely like to get back to that. And in terms of teams that we haven't wrestled, um, off the top of my head, Sinner and Saint easily. Like they,
Ooh,
that is my
sure.
number one. I want
Top of the
Juice and
bill.
Travis.
Hmm.
Um, Ilia Tribe up in Canada. They're a team that we've been really wanting to wrestle for the last few years, and
Okay.
I'm hoping that happens soon. Um, yeah, I don't know. I would like to wrestle a lot of the teams that we've already wrestled. Like again, like we wrestled Los Suavecitos at Metal Mania. That was one of my favorite matches that we've had. We wrestled C4, Midnight Heat. These are all of those matches. I'd love to run those back. Reloaded. Like there's a lot of great Pacific Northwest tag teams right now, and we'll take on any of them. I want all of them. I want the best. I want to be the best.
are there any stipulations that you've wanted to try as a tag team or singles?
I would really like to do a War Games. I don't know how possible that'll ever be, but
What?
I would really like to do War
Why?
Games.
It's so brutal.
2 rings, dude. I don't know. Think of the possibilities.
Would it be a singles? Would it be tag? War games
Either
tag? War games
Does,
single? Doesn't
doesn't
matter.
matter.
You want to fucking like just get real in 2 rings.
Definitely.
Damn, War Games tag.
War
How
Games
many
tag.
people is that?
Hey, you know what? I'm putting it out there. Someone do it. But let's see. I've done a lot more matches than I've expected. I was thinking about this. Like I've already done a ladder match. I've done
We talked
Royal
about that.
Rumbles.
Yeah.
I would like to do a cage match. Like that's War Games, but like if it's not War Games, like just a
Sure.
regular cage
Single
match.
ring cage
But
match.
yep,
Yeah.
I would really love to do another last team standing match. Because we had a last team standing match against the Dregs last I think it was 2023, and that
Do they
is
have the
something.
gold now?
Yeah, they got the
Do they have
gold
your
now. It's
gold
crazy.
now?
I won't say
Hmm.
that we helped them get there, but um, um, where was I going with that? But yeah, I I am. I really love hardcore wrestling. Like I love stipulation wrestling. Like
Do you?
I'm a huge ECW fan. I love
Nice.
ECW. I loved like Pacific North Death. I was a big fan of them. We had some talks with them to try to make something work. I don't know if I'd necessarily do a death match per se.
Sure.
But hardcore wrestling, like extreme wrestling, I love that. That's my jam. So I'd be down to do some of that.
Where would you draw the line between deathmatch wrestling, hardcore wrestling?
I
If you were
think
to
it's like
describe it to say like someone who doesn't watch wrestling,
I would say
like,
maybe
no, hardcore wrestling is this, deathmatch
I mean deathmatch wrestling. I feel like is kind of tied to like the light tubes and like glass and like
viscera.
yeah,
Blood is mandatory.
exactly. Like the glass. I don't know. I don't
It's
know.
scary.
I don't
I'll
know if
say
I
it. I'm afraid
Yeah.
of it. I'm
breathing in
afraid
all
of
that
the light
mercury.
tube.
Like I respect the guys that do it. I definitely have a
100%.
respect for the deathmatch guys.
100%.
I don't know if I could do it. I love I'm down for hardcore wrestling, but like once you start getting into like glass and like
Sure.
Yeah.
Tables, doors,
fork, like
chairs.
knife boards, fork board, like the I don't know, man. I
Cheese
respect, but
graters.
I don't know if I could do it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
have I have
brutal.
taken I've taken skewers to the head by one Drexel,
Man,
and that was
how was
definitely
that?
one of the
Like,
worst pains I've ever felt in my life. That was terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't
I would
sound
not
fun.
recommend that.
Especially he's the guy you don't want to get them from. He
No,
seems pretty
he's probably
clinical.
the last guy. Just his
Yes.
Drexel's face right in front of you, stabbing you in the head. It's an experience.
I'm not still haunted by that at all.
No, definitely not.
What, going back to kind of like the early days and what you're doing now, what sort of influences the way you decide you're going to approach your offense?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit for me.
So there are a few guys that I definitely draw inspiration from the most. I would say the most is Eddie Guerrero. I watch his matches probably the most out of anyone that I watch.
Good choice. Yes.
Like just everything he did like meant something, and it was
No wasted
entertaining.
movement.
Everything was crisp and solid. Like
Yeah.
got him guys like AJ Styles. I watched a lot of AJ Styles, and like the Undertaker was my guy as a kid. But as a kid, my other guy was Jeff Hardy. I was a
Mm.
Okay.
big Jeff Hardy guy, so
I've got a
I
picture.
watch a lot of like Hardy Boys and a lot of older Jeff Hardy. I love like the athletic guys, the guys that just like are almost like acrobats, like just the very like acrobatic guys that
Would you call it cruiserweight? Would you call it lucha?
I think it just depends on the size.
That's fair.
Like and there's all different kinds of wrestling. Like there is lucha wrestling. There's like the
Sure.
um
There's strong style. There's the way the
yeah
big guys work. There's kind of something that's going on that I would maybe call it a super junior style,
yeah
even
I
though it
that's that
translates into some heavyweights, guys like Seth Rollins, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay.
definitely
That's
it's like a hybrid wrestling kind
Yeah,
of.
it's hard to
Hmm.
put a label on that, and we haven't really found it. I don't think a really accurate thing
But yeah,
yet.
I know what you mean. Like that, those are my kind of guys. Like that's like RVD, like Seth Rollins, like
Yeah, the Predator. Yeah, for
big.
sure.
I'm a big Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen guy.
Did you watch the ladder
Nice.
match this weekend while you were working?
I caught a bit of it. Yeah, I didn't watch it in full, but I caught a bit. I caught the Alabama Slam,
It was good.
dude.
It was a
Oh
good
yeah.
I
match.
would say it was like a Wile E. Coyote cartoon, like his head stuck in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So yeah, big fan of Kevin Owens, and that's kind
Yeah,
of treads that line of hardcore too, right? Here
definitely.
and there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like you're gonna feel something. Like as a viewer, you're gonna like. There's no way of getting around like what they're doing.
So in that sort of vein, is there like no bump that you wouldn't take? That's kind of what I feel like the approach to the art is.
Um,
Very Mick Foley.
yeah, I would say there would generally be a bump I wouldn't take. Sometimes it's not up to me if I take that bump or not.
Well, sure. Yeah, of course.
But
Usually more often than not.
no, I'm pretty. I like having fun, being extreme. Like taking risks. Like
Sure.
that's what I love this shit for. Like that's part of the fun.
Absolutely. But we're at the beginning of the year still kind of.
Hmm.
Can you give me like 3 goals you got for this year? You're
Uh,
back, you're healthy, you're feeling good. Give me 3. Let's manifest that shit.
All right. So I know my number 1 and number 2 already.
Great.
It's for the Flamin Aces to be on Roseland at a Roseland, and this year I really want to be in the Cascadia Cup. That's a
Hell yeah.
big
Singles.
as a singles. It's a big goal for me because I watched Zay in the Cascadia Cup last year, and he just had like an incredible breakout performance, and I was so
Great
happy to
matches.
see
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But it just motivated me to want to have the same thing.
Those are
Uh,
amazing. Those are 2
and
great starts.
those are my 2 big ones, and then the third. I mean, there's a lot. I'd like to add a few more states to my resume.
What do you got right now?
I think if you include Canada, it's not a state, but
Let's include Canada then.
um,
It's a
uh,
territory, right?
I think it would be 5 or 6. So it'd be Canada, Washington, Oregon, California, and Nevada. So it'd be 5.
So that's where you
Sorry,
pick.
6. Because I also wrestled for Wrestling Open in Massachusetts.
Okay.
So I've gotten to
So
do
you've done
6
some
states
mass
so
stuff.
far. I'd like to let's say 10. I'd like to get to 10 states this year. If I
Any
can
in
add
particular?
anywhere. I would like to get back out to the East Coast again, like where I'm from, because that's where all my family is. I'd like for my family to be able to see me wrestle in like Maine. I'd like to go to Massachusetts again. I really would like to go to like Texas. Texas has a lot of great wrestling that I would really I'd like to see. I want to go to like different countries too. Like I want to go everywhere, like
Sure.
Mexico or
Yeah.
the UK, like Japan. I'm trying to see the world, and with wrestling, I'm very
Totally.
like blessed to be able to have
Yeah.
already seen a lot of the world that I wouldn't have gotten to previously.
It's a
Yeah.
touring gig lifestyle for
It
sure.
really is, and I couldn't ask for like anything better than that. That's all I've ever really wanted. I
Well, I
want
appreciate it.
Are
the
you
world.
available for Mania weekend? Are you going to be in Vegas?
So we actually are going to be in Vegas for Mania Week. We haven't really like announced it yet, but we don't. I won't announce anything yet of like where we
Sure.
might be,
Yeah.
but we
I'll
will.
do it.
We'll definitely be in town, and we'll be around. We're gonna try to get into as many places as we can because
Yeah.
Vegas is so close to home.
Yep.
Like, and Vegas, we've talked to a few places in Vegas about trying to get out there. It's almost happened a few times. So I think that'll happen again this year.
Flamin' Aces
That's
in
great.
Vegas
Well, match made in heaven, dude. Like
sounds like a
you
match
can't
made
be
in
in
Yeah.
heaven.
Vegas
Sounds
without
like a
2
W.
aces. You know what I mean?
I
You
was
got to
gonna
do a
say maybe
promo
hook 'em up
video.
with the
Yeah,
Booster
exactly.
Boats in
I
Arizona.
C4 just put out a great Vegas
Yeah. Yeah.
poker
Yeah,
video.
they
That was
did.
awesome. Kind of jealous. I wish we had that idea.
Yeah,
It was
you can
great
do
though.
like the party side. You can do like a,
There you
you
go.
know.
We'll make it work. We'll make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool,
get
man.
shit on fire. Make sure that's
There
part
you
of there
Yeah,
too.
definitely.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean,
Not
the cards
not
over
maybe
there are
not.
shaping up like crazy.
It's
I
crazy.
don't
There's
know.
gonna be so much like so much crazy talent there. Like it's gonna be because I went to Mania Week last year in Philly, and that was a really cool experience. That was my first Mania Week,
What is
so
that like? Talk about that a little bit.
it was really cool. Like I was obviously injured, so I didn't have any bookings.
Right.
But so me and Amira went, and there were some other P&W people that were also out there, and we all met up together and hung out. It was really cool. I got to see a lot of like the collective and like just a lot of wrestling that I wouldn't really ever get to see live unless I'm at that show.
Totally. Yeah.
Like a I think Joshi might have ran a show,
Yeah, I think Stardom's
and
doing Vegas.
TJPW, yeah, and like GCW was running obviously, and like there was just a lot of wrestling that I wouldn't normally get to see. I remember it was one of the last days, and there was this like big like swear it was like 100-person Royal Rumble, and like it was like almost like 1 or 2 a.m. and I was just looking at the ring, and I think it was
Oh my god.
what's the Cheetan, is that what the name is, like the big mascot.
Oh, yes, I know. Yes, the
Yeah, it
like
was like Cheetan,
mascot thing.
like Aja Kong, and like
God.
just it was the craziest ring I've ever seen. Microman was in there. It was awesome. Like
It's
it's
like a
something you'll
fever
never.
dream. It's
Yeah,
like a David Lynch
it
film.
was really a fever dream. And
That's
speaking like
awesome though.
of Aja Kong, like me and Amira we took a seminar with Aja Kong when we were out there in Philly, and that was a really cool experience. And it was really cool for me getting to see Amira meeting Aja Kong because
Yeah,
like that's a matchup right there.
Strong
yeah,
And
style
yeah.
right there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like fast forward, like I got to see Amira wrestle against Aja Kong at West Coast Pro. So it was kind of like a full circle moment of like
Yeah.
seeing them meeting and then seeing it was really cool. But
That
like
is cool.
the whole week was just like really fun. It's just a fun time to be around, even if you're not wrestling. Even though
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would
it
like to
seems like
wrestle.
It seems like a lot of those indie shows can be more fun than going to Mania.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
be like completely
I did
honest.
notice a lot of people like staying for because I think they ran the same day as Mania, but a lot of people would stay for the show, the indie
Hmm.
shows instead of going to Mania because obviously like tickets are expensive. So I think that's really cool that they do that.
Fucking house, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Fucking haunted.
chaos now.
yeah.
What have you noticed between sort of the Pacific Northwest? Is there a certain style of wrestling? You've been to Michigan, you've been up and down the West Coast. Is there anything that stands out about like the way maybe you were trained, maybe the crowds work that are different than other places? Is there anything from somewhere else that stands out in comparison to here? Talk about
In
that a
my
little bit.
in my personal experience, I haven't like not there's not like a ton of difference. Like a lot of like a lot of wrestling has just evolved now a lot, but a lot of it is also kind of not the same, but like like there's similar aspects to a lot of it. But not from my experience, but I being told things like I know like fans down south react differently to things maybe Portland fans do, or like I and it's just like the style of wrestling they've been accustomed to. Like
Right.
the South has their like South guys. Like I don't know how to
Yeah,
describe it,
it's
but you know what I
just
mean.
because
Like
I know you're like ingrained and trained as like a Pacific Northwest
mm,
wrestler. Would you identify as that, do you think? Or
definitely,
how would you identify, how would you tell somebody what you do
I would
in the
say
ring?
I'm a wrestler based out of the Pacific Northwest.
Right.
Um, I like, and I'm very happy to be from the Pacific Northwest because I think this is like one of the best wrestling places in the world. Like,
It's
yeah, like
crazy, right?
yeah, like
Isn't that
you got
bizarre?
between like Prestige, Defy, DOA, SOS. Like, there's so much different wrestling like all over the Pacific Northwest.
We
And
talk about it all the
it's
time
all great.
because yeah, it's just not really known as something like Chicago or as something like really Canada as a whole.
Yeah.
But you know, Toronto, Edmonton, those kind of territories. Um,
I think of it kind of like because I'm from New Hampshire, so I grew up in New England, and
sure.
I view like New England and the Pacific Northwest like very similarly.
Really?
Yeah, like the people are a little different, having lived here for a few
Sure.
years and there now,
Yeah.
but the general vibe is pretty similar. I'd compare them a lot to each other.
Have you ever out in the East Coast? Have you ever been to like NEW
Any
shows?
NEW? I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I think they
Where is
mostly.
that?
I mean, they do Mass and Connecticut. So I went to school on the East Coast in Connecticut, and I
Mm.
went to a lot of NEW shows. But they always had like
Oh,
guys like
yes.
old, like Cody was there, and Flip Gordon, and kind of
Mm.
just like kind of more
Marty
like
Scurll.
yeah. So it was like
Yeah, like
it was just
I I
crazy.
I never did. I never actually went to any indie shows when I lived in the East Coast because I didn't know about the indies.
Right. It didn't hit you till
Yeah.
much later.
Yeah, so
When it became real thing.
and I've done my research. I know of some most of the companies out there. I know Beyond is out there, and like obviously
Hmm.
Wrestling Open, and I've met a few guys that are from the East Coast, and they've kind of talked to me about it. It's a there's a lot of great wrestling out there too. Like all the open guys are phenomenal. Like it's something a little dream of mine. I would like to see a New England PNW like super show.
Where?
Ooh,
I don't.
here,
It could be here. It could be there.
halfway,
I feel like it would have to be
halfway.
roasted, right?
That's kind of where my brain went.
We have to have the home court advantage.
Um, that would be fucking sick and really fun.
Well,
Are we gonna do the Mount Rushmore, Andy?
Yeah,
to,
sounds good.
Hit us. What's your Mount Rushmore of wrestling? You got
uh,
four.
I got four. So I'll say Eddie,
Yes.
say AJ Styles, and I'll put Undertaker and Jeff Hardy as my nostalgia childhood heroes.
Dang,
Smoothest and easiest
I think
Mount
that was the
Rushmore.
quick
That
one.
was the quick one.
I have been thinking about this. I had a
You
feeling a
know what
question
you're.
like this was
Yeah,
coming.
you knew it, and you've been thinking about it.
Yeah, but there's definitely like a few like honorable mentions,
Yeah,
like
like
RVD, Kevin Steen, Samoa
sure,
Joe, Amazing
sure.
Red, Alex Shell, like the Machine Guns,
Hmm.
the
Going in a big way there.
yeah,
Yeah.
the I one of my favorite tag teams. They're not a tag team anymore, obviously, but American Alpha. I was a big fan of American Alpha.
Otis and Tozawa, Otis and Gable. Oh shit! Sorry.
No.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that was Jason Jordan and
Yes.
Yeah,
Chad
yeah,
Gable.
yeah.
Like the
Jason
match
Jordan.
they had with Revival at I can't remember the name of which takeover it was, but it was
Yeah.
one of the takeover. That might be one of my favorite matches I've ever seen. Like that match is so good. I watched that match constantly just to
They were a
like take notes.
crazy tag team.
Yeah, the Revival FTR, like they're such a good tag team. Like
I mean,
they're
yeah. I mean, undisputably one of the best, if not the best.
definitely.
That's a little bit of a tougher conversation.
Yeah,
The
it's also
tag team scene has been pretty tough in the last couple of years across the major. You have great teams, I feel like, just not getting highlighted.
definitely. Yeah, I think tag team wrestling is like people are starting to really understand that it's like kind of an art in its own, aside from like just your regular wrestling match. And I think someone needs to see the right tag team match to really like have that spark go off.
Yeah.
I totally think you're right. And it's been tough being a fan of it and just seeing it sort of not even really secondary.
Exactly.
Just so ancillary.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to like it, and then you get kind of week to week. You get the people where it's just like they're just put
From
together,
the major companies.
and from the major companies, they're
TV.
just put together, and you're like, cool. I'm not gonna see them tag probably ever again. Like,
Right.
no.
Yeah.
But sometimes sometimes they throw people together and they end up being a great pairing. Like you never know how it'll end up.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see you guys against FTR. Maybe
That would be the dream.
Well.
That'd be the dream match.
As we wrap this up, we're gonna go ahead and kick it over to you. Tell us what you've got coming up next. Tell us where we can find you on social media, where we can buy shirts, all the whole thing. This is your time to plug your shit. Go for it.
All right. So you can catch me and my tag partner Zay Perez at all the local Portland Pacific Northwest shows.
March 1st.
Yes, March 1st. March 1st is DOA at Morrison Market.
Plug it.
That will be actually our match has not been announced yet, but definitely stay tuned for what we're doing in March. It's going to be a big one. This next week on Saturday we have our 365 debut up in Victoria. We're going against their tag champions Eddie Osborne and Crofton, Guilty by Association.
A little gold. That's we're talking February 14th.
Yes, yep, this Saturday.
Valentine's Day. Take your date. Saturday, Saturday the 15th.
Take your girlfriend to watch us win the.
Take your date.
Yes, watch us win the 365 tag team championships, and then
nothing sounds more romantic.
Yeah, nothing. What else could you want? Yeah, Power Pro Wrestling coming up the week after that. Another chance we get to whoop Aces High.
There we go. Love that.
And yeah, just follow me on Instagram and Twitter and everything. I'm at Spencer Scott Pro. You can follow us, the Flamin Aces. We have merch available on brainbuster.com, and we have matches on YouTube, IWTV. Check us out, man. You know,
we're everywhere.
We're back and we're out here, and we're trying to take over this year.
Hell yeah.
We want that for you, and we wish the best.
Yeah, excited that you're back, and you guys are gonna take this year by storm.
That's right, dude. This is the year of the ace.
Thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us. Andy, you want to walk us out?
Yeah, and for our listeners, thank you all so much for listening. You can follow us at Pacific Wrestling Network on Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitch, and we have a phone number too. You can call us, leave a voicemail. We'll answer your questions. There's not much, but they can do that.
Link tree.
There's a link tree.
Through our Instagram.
You can catch. Yeah, you can catch this audio version on Spotify and Apple, and the video version on YouTube when it drops. Stay tuned on our Instagram. We'll announce everything there. And Spencer, thank you again so much for joining us. It's been
absolutely, guys,
a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Super excited for you guys for this next year.
Yes, sir. Gotta go crazy.
Glorious.
Aces up, baby.
Aces up.
Aces up.
Thank you, guys.